Hello and howdy there, everyone. Last night I watched, for the second time, Bernie. I saw Bernie in the theater originally. I enjoyed it. I think my initial review was a 7. I'm going to go ahead and bump that up to an 8. I really enjoyed it this time around, as you usually do with a film you watch for a second time or want to watch for a second time. Part of my first review stands... I recently watched it while figuring out my top 10 list of the year, and I couldn't remember what I gave Bernie. I gave it a 7. I said that it was like two different films, and it still kind of is for me, but it blended much more nicely. You've got a true-to-life documentary where you have talking heads, local townspeople, you know, again, locals, just being in a documentary talking about a true crime. And then you have actors portraying key figures. So it's like, you know, again, like half the time you're watching, you know, real people talk about real events, and then it will cut to dramatization, a recreation, reenactment, using highly skilled actors. And the fact that they are highly skilled actors, you know, makes it okay, makes it better. I really appreciated the uniqueness of this film, the uniqueness of the story, and how I thought it was original, and not like many films I'd seen. So it made me enjoy it much more, where I can remember seeing it in the theater and being challenged by it and thinking this is, you know, really new. You know, at times it can, you know, kind of slip into a mocking tone, but not for too long. And I think it's just used for, you know, comedic effect. It's always kind of appropriate, and I find that when it is subtly mocking or mocking its subject, it's because someone, you know, a real person, was just kind of mocking them. And it, you know, I think it did a good job at letting us, the audience, feel the tone of the people who actually experienced it. So I think that that's quite skilled, and really kind of magic. I don't know how that's done. I'm giving it an 8 this time, if I haven't said that. It's about, it's a true story of a funeral director in a small town in Texas. He's actually an assistant funeral director. He does everything around town, teaches Sunday school, sings in the choir, or actually like leads the choir, helps anyone do anything. You know, everyone knows him. He's the most popular man in this small town because he's incredibly nice. Not a, you know, a greedy stitch in his body. He, again, being a funeral director, does all the funerals in town. He makes nice friends with all of the widows whose husbands pass away, and makes an especially good friend in one widow, maybe even more than a friend. And he basically becomes her, well, her caretaker, her guardian, her pet. Just becomes her property. She's very domineering, she's very wealthy, and, well, to talk about much more, I think, would spoil the film. But you can't take, you know, so much pressure, even if you're the nicest guy in the whole world. You're still a guy, you're still an animal, and you have a breaking point. I think one of the interesting things here, again, is there's basically, well, there's more than 3, but 3 main ones. You've got them right there on the box. You've got Matthew McConaughey, Jack Black, and Shirley MacLaine. They're playing your central figures. Jack Black is Bernie in the best performance he's ever given. And it's different than the roles he's done before, but then not. You know, I still think it remained true to that Jack Black kind of character, the style. But he's definitely, you know, maybe not out of his element, but maybe out of his comfort zone, and he nails it. He's fantastic here. But I've loved Jack Black since, you know, the late 90s. So it's tough to, actually probably 1997, whenever I saw him on Mr. Show, you know, and which led to Tenacious D, the series. So Jack Black can really do no wrong for me. And here he's fantastic. He really gets to act. And he always has, but he really gets to be subtle here. You know, he gets to be nuanced, which is something that he's usually, you know, not. He's usually bombastic. But he's fantastic here. And he lobbied hard to get some award recognition. He didn't, but I think he got nominated for a Golden Globe. But sadly, he was mostly ignored. But it was a busy year for actors. Matthew McConaughey, also very good. He's had a strong run. I think he's very good here. He's made several films with the writer-director of this film, which I'll get to in a second, Richard Linklater. Again, McConaughey's been on a hot streak. I think he's fine here. He's funny. He's kind of perfectly cast. Shirley MacLaine is all right, you know. She's okay. I think she probably has the easiest role. She has to be the mean old lady. You know, she was fine. I wasn't amazed by her performance. I didn't think she did, you know, a bad job. She was okay. I think what really sets this film apart, again, is the blending of the real and the unreal. And I think it is kind of a document of this, you know, what happened. I think it's rather true, as in sticking with the details. I think there's too many people to not fill this film with details. But it puts, you know, these three actors in with, you know, again, locals, town people. And some of the times, a few certain colorful townspeople get to act with, you know, these guys. Usually they're in the scenes, you know, with each other or alone. But sometimes they put them with townspeople, which is very interesting, you know, to watch a very skilled professional actor with, you know, an amateur, you know, someone who is on film for the very first time. And in some scenes, it's mostly McConaughey, but you can see him kind of crack in a way, that the townspeople are they're still good. You know, they're very good. They obviously pick the most colorful and the most comfortable on camera. But there's some times when McConaughey, like, just barely cracks. And, you know, he's just laughing at this guy, you know, telling his story. So I don't know, it's kind of interesting to see that, in a way. And it's so very subtle. The whole film is very subtle. I just really enjoyed how they used, again, locals, townspeople to handle, you know, a lot of the acting. And when it's just them and they're being interviewed about the crime and about the story, I think it's kind of fascinating, you know. I love the film when it just does that. And I like the film when it's, you know, a regular acting movie. So I think, again, that kind of balances to an 8. I definitely think it's one of Linklater's best films. He's made a lot. I really can't rattle off Linklater films. Dazed and Confused and School of Rock or some. I was trying to remember if he did, and I'm not sure if he did Orson Welles and Me, or Me and Orson Welles. which, if he did, it was right before this, and I absolutely love that film. So he's made some good ones back to back. But I'm not sure that was Linklater. Anyway, Linklater was producer, co-writer, director on this film. You know, I always respect a singular vision, so I like that. I thought it really captured small town life very well. I'm from a small town, and it felt like going back home. You know, it really captures that. This isn't really Midwestern, but it really captures the small town lifestyle. You know, it gets a lot of things right that other films probably wouldn't even think about. But this film, you know, nails it. Reminding me a lot of Junebug in that aspect. I think Junebug really kind of set the bar for getting that small town feel. I don't know what else to say. I think I covered it all. Acting is tremendous, well directed, great tone, very original, very unique. It's, you know, it's not like every movie you've seen. And if you're a Jack Black fan, it's fantastic. It's a really come up for him. And I guess that's all I have to say. Again, if you haven't seen this film, I highly recommend it. Definitely go check it out. So that's Bernie, and I give it an 8. Thanks.